Hey everybody, Eric Steckel here. Just want to remind you to check out my buddies Dave and Ty on the Nez Says Show, Thursdays at 8 p.m., right on Dave's YouTube channel. I was a guest on the show a couple months back. We had a great time. So if you're a guitar player, you love guitar-related content, check out the show. You won't regret it. See you guys later.
And we're live. Today is Thursday, oh my God. Today is Thursday, August 27th, and you're tuned into Nez Says, a place where musicians get together and inspire each other to play more guitar. My name is Dave Nesdahl, and this is my buddy Ty Price. And
hey, Dave.
Welcome to our show.
Yeah,
First day with my new mouth.
And your new hat. It's very cool. Happy Thursday. It's always good to see you. And, tonight we're going to talk all about Charvel guitars. It's going to be exciting. Some say that Charvel is responsible for launching the super strap movement of the late 70s and early 80s. And as we are all aware, there was an early brand association with many famous players, such as EVH, Warren DeMartini, Jakey Lee, George Lynch, and the amazing Alan Holdsworth. The modernized Strat configuration of the Charvel was particularly well suited for guitar virtuosos of the time, featuring various innovative appointments, creative graphics, and the distinctive hallmark of the brand, an unfinished maple bolt-on neck. Joining us tonight is a well-respected Charvel player, collector, and enthusiast, Mr. Rick Soga. Rick, welcome to the show.
Hey, Rick.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you. Great. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're excited that you're here, Rick.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, those are some cool guitars behind you.
Very cool.
Yeah. I got some. I thought I'd put a couple up there from the office here. They kind of go through all the periods. I don't know. The middle one is actually the Fender Van Halen model. Not the one that's currently being put out with the EVH. That's the real one from the 500 batch.
Right. Yeah. The replica, the 25K replica.
Yeah. And I didn't have that money, and I didn't spend that kind of money on the guitar. I got it as a wonderful gift from a buddy of mine, Matt Bruck. Years ago, when they were out, I called him, told him that was like one of the coolest feeling guitar necks I had. It felt exactly like a Charvel. It like flipped me out that I actually got to play one of them. And then he said, "Well, hang tight, I got something for you." And then a little while longer, Fender got a hold of me, and they said, Matt Bruck would like to send you out a Frankenstein guitar, and we want to get your address and get all your information. And
that's pretty amazing.
So yeah, I've had that ever since. It's awesome. It's just an awesome. I know a lot of people you played them, right, Dave?
Yeah, I've played dozens of them actually, and I personally sold 8 of them when I worked at Guitar Center.
That's amazing. I mean,
yeah.
I can see why they sell. It just depends on what your style is on necks, but that is a classic feel of an old guitar or a new guitar getting the feel of an old guitar. They really got it right. I mean, Chip Ellis, the way they did the neck, they CNC'd it. It's just a wonderful example of what Charvel was like back in the day. And I know there's a lot of examples because they were all handmade. And they were all hand sanded, and you can't. There's a certain feel to Charvels, but there are so many different types of feel to them. It's you can't exactly explain it. But like, when you play a Fender, a Fender is a Fender is a Fender, and a Gibson is a Gibson is a Gibson neck. But on a Charvel neck, they've just got an unbelievable comfortable neck to them. They feel like an old pair of jeans to your hand. So when I felt that guitar, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. But to own it is even better. I mean, they actually have one. The guitar on the right, or the one over here with the Kaler, that is a pre-pro model that was the very beginnings. That was like the lawsuit right before any of that had happened. That one there has like the crown head tuners, and it's got the perfect neck, and the only thing about it is a lot of people get upset about the Kaler thing. They'll get, they're like, oh, I don't want to Kaler the Floyd. I'll take the guitar, how cool it is. And then the one next to it over here on the other side, that one is probably the latest example, like the last example before the lawsuits came in. And I think Music Emporium had that in there. Music Emporium had the other headstock with the V-trim on there. Pretty amazing stuff. The necks on the pointies, people that go crazy about how awesome they are. Some people don't like them, but I suggest if you can get your hands on a real Charvel pointy, you will freak out on how great that neck is. Maybe aesthetically it's not what you're looking for, but I'm telling you, the feel-wise, it's incredible.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've played some of them, and although I don't like the pointy headstock, but I mean, where are you going to get a guitar? As a guitar, it's an amazing guitar. So, if you find yourself with one and you think you're going to be made fun of because you got a hockey stick headstock guitar or a pointy headstock, or you're stuck in the 80s, don't listen to those people. If it's a good guitar and you want it and you've got the dough for it, get the damn guitar.
Play what you like.
Play what you like.
Yeah, I always tell people whenever they're gonna talk about pointies, they go, I don't want to point it, but I go, if you played it, you would have a different opinion of them. They don't play like the foreign made Charvel's neck. They don't play. They're not the same. And a lot of people go, "That's the same thing." It's not. You'd have to get them in your hand to really feel the craftsmanship that goes into these guitars.
First of all, that guitar is going to play pretty much exactly the same way the one with the Strat headstock plays, without the Strat headstock. It's just a different headstock, but the neck construction is the same. It's amazing.
And Charvels, for the most part, they have a rolled neck. It's a more comfortable neck. It's just everything about it was they were just all handmade necks. So the sanding was done. Just this so smooth and so brilliant. And the jumbo frets were kind of a new piece. The radius, the way they did the radius of the neck. Everything about this neck's about speed, about playing faster, but it's also about being comfortable, having a comfortable neck. This is a dinky. This one here is a dinky neck. It's pre-pro, so it's a little bit smaller of a body, and this is a great example of how in the day the pre-pro guitars were made by hand. You could see the neck on that is just, it's patinaed beautifully, but they're just great. And they actually stayed in pretty good, damn good tune. The V-trims on them were really nice. So they were doing this early. They were making these things like this in 79, 80.
That's amazing.
So it was pretty cool that they were pulling that off during that time period. I just fell in love with them as when I was, when I first started playing guitar, I was looking around and trying to figure out what I wanted to play. And I was playing at Les Paul at that point. And then music store got a Charvel in, and I was like, you know what? I got to order one from Music Emporium. So that's how I got my first one.
What year was that?
That's here on Long Island. The Music Emporium is right here on Long Island, right. It's 20 minutes away from me.
Wow. Could you imagine if they had an old stock of these guitars? If they had those,
forget it.
That would be amazing. That'd be an amazing time machine. That one was this is early, like maybe 80. This is they call this a dinky body.
Yep.
Here's another example of that. This is a cool one. They also were like I don't quote me on this because I want to say that they were like around the first ones that were starting to do like real graphics, like this to do graphics. This one here is a that was like the lightning bolt guitar.
That's
I got this
cool,
one
man.
very, very cool. This one is with a Floyd that was added, and the neck on there is just a killer neck. This neck here, wait, no, that's not that one. I've got one in here, Merry Christmas, and it has the neck on. Oh yeah, it's the neck on it is, and I'm not kidding you on this one. It is the same neck that's on that Frankenstein, that $25,000 Frankenstein. This is like, it feels and is exact same neck. It is ridiculous. I've actually taken calipers out and was like, is it just me or is this the same neck? That's how amazing that Chip did with the Relic Frankenstein guitar, is that he's actually mastered the feel of this, which is like a 1 3/4 neck.
Yeah.
Which is wide. Most people will be like, that's way too wide. It's so comfortable. And the nut spacing on there is a R2 or an R3. So the spacing is tighter. So you've got a little bit more real estate on the sides, which I think is what helped Eddie like to do a lot of tapping and a lot of pulling, because he had a little bit more wood on the ends, but he maintained the same string spacing of like a Strat or a Les Paul.
Absolutely. Just both E strings are in from the edges and they don't fall off.
Yeah, exactly.
When you do that, if you do that to a guitar, you will have to put some shims under that nut, because an R2 nut is not as tall as an R5. Yeah. But if you want to, if you want to have some room on the edges of your fretboard when you buy these guitars or when you have one of these, and you don't want to put all the shims underneath, and you have a R5 nut, get an R3. The R3 is as tall as the R5, so you don't need any shims, but it's in on both sides, so you get the room on both sides of the outer parts of both these strings, which is really cool.
Which I think, like, as a player, you wouldn't notice it, but like when when I started playing the Frankenstein guitar, I was like, why is it that what is it about this guitar that it feels different? It feels so cool. And it was exactly what you're saying. It was the space on the ends. And then after that, after I felt that, I go, I'm doing it on all my guitars. Anything that's 1 3/4, which is wide. That's a wide neck. But the one neck that I have, we talked about, that was it was Warren DeMartini's Charvel neck. And that one is, what is it, 1 in 7? God, what is it? It's wider than 1 3/4. All of Warren's necks, his the nut size.
1 in 7/8.
1 in 7/8. It's even bigger. Yeah,
bigger.
I've got that neck here. This is the Warren neck. I got this from a collector, and he's a big collector of Robin Crosby's stuff. So we were talking back and forth, and he goes, I'm not a Warren fan. I'm a Robin fan. I mean, I love Rat and all, but he's like, I've got one of his necks here, and he's out in Los Angeles. He's in California, and I go, dude, I got to buy that off you. So I bought this neck off him. It is so wide. I mean, I don't know if you can grasp how wide the edges. You could see how wide that neck is, and that's what Warren liked. You could see on here. It's a beautiful neck. I mean, it's got flame on it and everything.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's just it's so wide, but
is it real
it's
flat?
Comfortable.
Is it super flat too?
Not really. It's not flat like an Ibanez, but
no,
it's got some width to it.
Like it doesn't have a flat radius.
Oh yeah,
the fretboard. The fretboard's a regular Charvel.
Yeah. And
which measures what, Dave?
I think it's 16-inch.
So 16 all the way across.
Yeah.
So on this neck, it got really wide. So when I got this, I got, oh, this is great. I got one of Warren's necks. Plays great. It's a cool neck. little too wide. I don't know how big his hands are, but I mean, that's just crazy.
Now let me
how
ask you a
light it is.
question. Will that fit? Will that fit in any Charvel body in the neck pocket?
Yeah, yeah. That's
Okay, so it still fits. Okay.
yeah. That's not like the pointies. Those are wider on the heel. That's a standard heel for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I got that. And then I was looking online. This is a while back, and there's a really great resource for USA Charvels. Is a guy named Tracy Jenkins, and he was a great resource because I was so into these guitars. And when I first got the guitars, I got into a band called Shock 2, and then Shock 2 toured all over, and it's a long story, but I ended up getting a deal through Vito Bratta. I talked to him at a concert, and I was like, "What the hell guitar are you playing?" And it was a Steinberger, and I told him I played Charvels, and he was cool with that. We talked, and he's like, "Hey, what studio you guys are going to be in, and I'll send you out a guitar." So I ended up getting a Steinberger. I started playing those for a while, for actually a long while, and totally different animal. But I started playing these, got back around to playing Charvels again, and then I was like, I got to find out more about where these guitars were. This is 30 years later, 25 years later. I'm like, where am I going to find stuff? And a guy named Tracy Jenkins used to run a site. I think it's still available, but it was called USA Charvels. And what a resource. This guy is so good at what he does. He put this whole resource so you could look at the dates, and you could look at the lettering and the pockets. You could look at what kind of tuners were, what year. He was just such a valuable person to me to find these things. Then he had like a couple classifieds in there and stuff like that. And I was off and running after that. And I got to meet one of his friends was Jim Shine, who's another great resource. He was unbelievable because I would just find something and I would send pictures to these guys and they'd go, "Yep, that's the one. That's what you need. Yep, that's the one you want." That they were cool about it. They kind of love to see the affection of the Charvels being shared. And then Kevin, I can't pronounce your last name, Kevin. But Kevin was a Lociano. He was a great resource as well. These guys live and breathe it, and I was just like thankful to go online and to find out. So if you guys do have questions and you want to check these things out, look into USA Charvels. Tracy's on your site. I contacted him a little bit earlier, and he said he'd be on.
Very cool.
So and then I started finding stuff. Yeah, he's a great guy, and then
I just posted a link. I just posted a link to his site in the chat.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Great.
And we'll put it in the comment. We'll put it in the comment section.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Real quick before you go on, I want to thank Boner Jams for the super chat. He says, "Dave, congrats on the super chat and being handsome." Well, thank you. It's the hat. It's nothing else. It's just the hat. I hope you and these beautiful people in the chat have a great weekend. You too, Ty XO. Boner Jams also, congratulations on the new show. I watched it last night with you and
Jay Hannon.
Jay Hannon. Yeah, my God, I'm spacing out. It's the hat again with you and Jay Hannon. Check out Wednesday. I think it's once a month on a Wednesday night. It's called I don't. Forgive me for not knowing the exact name, but it's about metal music. And it's Boner Jams and Jay Hannon, and what a great
Metal
show!
Wednesday, I think.
Their first, Metal Wednesday. That's it. Yeah. Metal Wednesday, and I watched the whole show last night. It was fantastic. Good show. All right, let's go. All right. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah.
Carry on.
Oh no. So I was started looking and on eBay. Now now people are really. I don't know. It really caught fire. So people are buying them more. Charvel Custom Shop is really kicking now. They've got some excellent, like the things that they're coming out with are excellent. Although their Custom Shop doesn't put out as much as I would love them to. But they have the Nitro Series guitars, which are
some cool dude sold me 3 of these things. I don't know if he wants me to mention his name on air, but some cool dude. And this is
Look at that.
Is a Nitro.
It's a cool guitar.
This is the actual Where's the Beef guitar.
Yeah.
It says it backwards.
Yeah.
But I'll show all three of these throughout the night, but this is the first one that a buddy of mine, who is another great Charvel guy, he was gracious enough to sell me three of these things, and I'm in love with these guitars.
Yeah.
So you know who you are. Thank you very much.
They're awesome. They're
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, but like some people can't get used to the 21 fret. They want that 22nd fret on there. I don't know. I'm okay. Like I get a 21 fret guitar. I mean, I'm fine with it. I could still bend it up, bend up the pitch.
Absolutely. I love 21 frets actually more than... Well, it depends on the guitar. But I'm a 21 fret guy. I've got Strats with 21 frets. I've got a Super Strat with 21 frets. My Telly's 21 frets. Mike Neese, thank you. He says, nice hat, Dave. Thanks for the super chat. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm a 21 fret guy. Gibsons, I like 22 frets. But mostly, on the Strats and on these Super Strats, I like 21.
So, Rick,
Yeah.
you were playing. You mentioned you were playing a Les Paul before you went to your first Charvel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there any major adjustment that went on in that transition period, or did you just pick the Charvel up and say, "Wow, this is the guitar for me"?
Yeah. It was like it's almost like for me. I mean, that's how I learned how to play guitar, was on the Les Paul. I had a an off-brand Les Paul, then I had a real Les Paul, and then I went on and I don't know. Even if you're a Les Paul player, like somebody like Zach Wilde, who's a complete Les Paul guy, or you would put one of those guitars in their hands and they'd go, I can do this. Whereas other guitars are just, they're more, I don't know, there's a little bit more of a learning curve to playing other types of guitars. I don't know if it's the radius. Maybe it's the radius change. Makes it a little easier to play, faster, up the scale. I don't know what it was, but I started playing the Charvel and I was just like, that's it for me. I mean, I was sold after that, and I haven't really played anything else other than like the Steinberger, the Gibson, the Les Paul, and that. I mean, in Charvel, and I went full circle now. So
when did you start collecting Charvel?
Probably. Oh my God! It had to be like 30 years ago.
Okay.
I was looking online and I saw there was a big picture of one vintage guitar. There's a big picture of this guy's wall at a guitar shop, wherever it was, maybe Connecticut or something. It was this big picture of just hundreds of guitars up there, and right in the top right corner there was a black and yellow guitar. And I saw in this black and white picture, and I saw it in there. And I just called him. And I was just like, do you still have that guitar? And he's like, hold on a minute. And he went back there, and that's the first one that I got, the black and yellow guitar that I bought. I was like, unbelievable. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Will Neal says, Dave, why don't more companies mount the Floyd nut from the back? In my opinion, it's a much better way. Well, I'll tell you why they don't do it. For production reasons, to make it go faster. Because to do that, to put the nut on from the back, which is absolutely a better way to mount a Floyd nut, it takes more time, and on a production line, time is it's just time is money, basically. So the easier way to do it is to put two wood screws in through the top and have it be done.
It's also a good idea to check that too, to tighten those once in a while.
I've said this before. I owned a Charvel Art Series black and yellow when they first came out. I think it was 2002 or 2003, something like that. And I think I had the first one in my neighborhood. I call my neighborhood Guitar Center. Anyway, it wouldn't stay in tune, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me why it wouldn't. And then the final thing I did was check those two screws at the nut.
Yeah.
And one of them was fully stripped, and the other one was tight, but you could turn it.
Yeah.
No good. That guitar went right in the garbage.
Well, I mean, you could have.
No, not. I mean, it didn't go in the garbage, but I mean, it left my stable. Is what.
Yeah. Oh, I've been frustrated. I've been many nights trying to work on old Floyds and old things like that. That's the thing about vintage guitars. It's like working on vintage cars. It's things just go wrong. Things break. You're tightening the Floyd and it just smashes right through. It'll just break right through the retainer, the string, what holds the string on. You're tightening that, it'll just break. I don't even know what that's called, the little piece that's in there. It'll break, and you just keep trying to tune your guitar, and it keeps loosening up and loosening up.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You get these old guitars, and you've got it like really. I mean, I love the vintage look, and I like to keep it as vintage as possible. But I mean, it'd be so much easier for me to get a new Floyd and just drop it on there, or get a FU Floyd and put it on there. But it's like, I gotta keep everything,
as original as possible.
Sure.
Yeah.
Original, yeah. And those Floyds are just like, oh my God. I mean, I love them, but those old ones they're so cool. But you got to keep up on every part of those things, or if they lock up or they break, and they're old. I mean,
now let me ask you: do you have any Charvels with the old non-fine tuning Floyds on them?
No, I don't. Everybody that had those through, like, say you bought them and you got one back in the 80s, they switched them out. Everybody, people would just take them into the guitar shop and go, give me the new thing. Like, because I mean, that's kind of frustrating. It was frustrating to lock your guitar in tune perfectly. You know what I mean? You'd have to like maybe lower it a little bit of a pitch and then tighten up at the,
well, back then, I know what you're saying. Back
then you have no fine tuners.
Right.
Yeah.
Back then, people didn't really know what to do, and some people nowadays don't know what to do. But that retainer that's behind the nut, if you have that in a certain spot, if you screw that down in a certain spot, when you clamp down on those clamps, they will always clamp in tune.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've never.
Some people don't know it, but that's a good trick.
I need to learn more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Thunder Falcon, you're speaking he mentioned John Sykes playing a Les Paul. He's speaking my language. Sykes is my guy. But Sykes also has a vintage Charvel. It's on the gear page of his website, and there's even references to some of the recordings that he actually used that Charvel on. So if you're a big Sykes fan, you should check that out.
I would think most guitar players that have a record deal or that are famous, that are in that rock genre, the rock, big arena rock, they probably do have a Charvel, or they had one in their arsenal through those years. They've had to, because they were just such a popular guitar, and they were such a fast playing guitar. Like even Dimebag, he had his first guitar that he won at that guitar show was a Charvel.
Mm-hmm.
The very first one, he was like 16, 15.
Right.
And that was the grand prize, was a Charvel. It's a killer one too. I mean, it was really cool guitar. But I think all of those guitars, even though he was such a Dean guy, I mean, he still was nuts about Charvel. I think most guitar players, like I said, Zach Wilde, I'm sure he probably has an original Charvel. These guys, I mean, these guitars were one of those things where you just go like, I got to see what all the fuss is about. And
Vivian Campbell has one. That you might all have seen. You might have seen them in photos. It's that black one with the armored. Their yellow little armor things that It's just It's cool paint job. Great guitar. I think that's like an 83 maybe. Might be.
Well, I got one
frets.
that's not a metal guy's guitar, but it is his guitar was this is it looks like a normal Strat. It's the Charvel. It's got maybe I think it's like 1 3/4 nut on there, Floyded. This was Rick Springfield.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
really?
Rick Springfield had one. So
That's cool.
A lot of people had these. They were just like, get me one of those. I could hear them saying to their tech, find me, order me a Charvel. This one I got from a guy who he did a what's it called? The warehouses where you just sell whatever's inside of the warehouse. Like let it go.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I forget what you call it. They got a TV show about that where people buy the storage wars.
Yes.
And there was just an old gentleman out in some part of California that had a picture of him holding the guitar like this, and they said Charvel guitar, and he had it for sale. And we started talking to him, and it turned out that it was Rick Springfield was one of the owners of the guitar, and he wrote down that it was and this and that. I looked on Tracy's site, and people were all talking. They started talking about the guitar, and I talked to the guy and then ended up working a deal. He wasn't even a guitar player. He was just a guy who did like the Storage Wars thing. He
Wow.
bought stuff and bought a storage space, sold everything out of it, and he just put it on eBay. And the way he worded it was not really something that anybody would pick up so quickly.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And I caught it and got it. And in fact, I even reached out to Rick Springfield and his assistant. I talked to him, and he said Rick would like to see the guitar. He would like he would like to check it out whenever you get the chance, when he's going to be coming through the Ohio area. So,
awesome.
I'm still waiting for this COVID thing to go away. So Rick Springfield's always on tour, and I've met him, before, and talked to him about the guitar, and he was just like, no way. We were just talking about that time, and he was just like, this wild, bring it. And so next time I see him, I'm going to bring it in.
That's
definitely
cool.
will do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but even guys like Rick Springfield, he's actually
guitar
really
player.
a good guitar enthusiast who loves all that stuff.
Yeah. Susie pulling out some trivia. Even David Gilmore, Mr. Fender himself, had a prize Charvel that he loved. That's true.
That's
right.
true.
Yeah.
Boner Jams, thanks for the super chat. He says, God bless Dime. Joe Duplantier is a Charvel god.
And he's got a cool signature model too. Joe does.
Yeah, very cool.
Very cool.
Do you have any other Charvel? You guys have any Charvels?
Yeah,
Besides
I have
the one. Let me see another one there. What you got there?
I've got a Dakota Red Nitro.
That's great. I've seen that one before.
Yeah.
That's a beauty.
Yeah,
boy, that Nitro series is about as close as you're going to get to the vintage Charvels.
Yeah, I'm going to get a vintage one sooner rather than later. But these three, and the next one that I'm going to show you guys, well, you've seen it before. You've seen it on a past show. But it's unbelievable. And I actually put a set of vintage 70s DiMarzios in it, because these all have DiMarzios. Mm-hmm. And I wanted it to match the other ones. And when you see it, you'll think it just came with it. But they're just amazing, these guitars. And this Dakota Red, I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can get closer so you can see the actual weather checking in this guitar. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. There you go.
Yeah, that's cool.
See the weather checking in this guitar.
What are those pickups, Dave?
The neck pickup in this is a DiMarzio PAF, and the bridge pickup is a Super Distortion DiMarzio.
Okay.
And that's the way I have it basically in all three guitars.
And what's the body wood on that? Alder?
I think that one's ash. I'm almost positive. Rick, do you know what they are on those things? What the body wood is?
That's a good one. I was going to say alder, but I don't know. I'd have to.
Well, these three guitars, well, the next one I'm going to show is all Koa. So that's but the first two, the green one and the red one, they're on the heavier side. I'm thinking they're ash.
It might be,
thinking they're ash. But man, they sound great. They're just, the attack is right on. Everything about them is just great. They're just wonderful.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're only reissues. They're custom shops.
They're very rare to find. I mean, they're hard to find, the guitars. They don't come out with that often. That's a Music Zoo only, and I'll give that up to Tommy, man. I mean, he CNC'd those necks from an early Charvel, like an 81 or something. Is that right?
Yeah.
And he took that neck and had him CNC it, and I mean, they did a whole deal on it, and they got that thing down. I mean, they nailed it. It's kind of scary, and it's also so unbelievably cool how now all these old things that you thought, well, you're not going to be able to get them again, you're going to get those in the hands of, like, our kids are going to be able to play something that we could play. I mean, in our lifetime, we're seeing this at our age now. You're starting to see that you're able to actually bring back these dinosaurs back to life in a sense. It kind of reminds you of like a Jurassic Park thing, because they're able to take these old necks and go, well, I can make a brand new one that feels just like that one that's 35 years old.
Right.
Absolutely. And the one that you have right there is proof of that. And
yeah. Well,
so thank you to Tommy.
Neese, oh yeah. And Mike Neese says you could I think you can choose what you wanted for bodywood, maple, alder, or whatever. I think that's true, Mike. But these are Music Zoo guitars, and I think they ordered them a specific way. But I'm sure you can get them any way you want because it is a custom shop guitar. It probably takes 6 to 9 months to make yours, but they'll make it out of whatever wood you want. Absolutely.
What's your theory on that the baked necks? What do you guys think about that?
I'm sorry, what next?
The baked necks, the ones that they
baked.
bake. Yeah.
Yes.
What do you guys thought?
roasted.
I'd like to. Yeah, roasted. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
Me too.
Are you?
Absolutely.
Are you?
Yes.
I haven't tried one.
I got my first roasted in it's been several years now, probably 2014. I got my first roasted, and I prefer it.
Wow.
The reason I like the roasted necks is because they're sturdier. They don't move as much, and all of the water is out. I mean, it's just they're dry. They're as dry as you're going to get them, and they are great. They don't move.
Wow.
They don't move. Winter, summer, they really don't need to be worked on.
And what do you guys think about stainless steel frets? I mean, I know that's a Van Halen thing. I mean, he came up with that, or he put those on his latest guitars. But what do you guys think of those? Like working on them, having them on your guitar. Like, what do you think?
I mean, I have them on several guitars. And,
you do?
I do, and I like them. I mean, I like them, and I love my guitars that have nickel frets. I mean, it's just, I can't say that I prefer one over the other. I will say that I think that the guitars that I have that do have stainless steel frets on it, I think was part of the design process from the very beginning. And look, they're all super high-end guitars, so I think that process was well thought out. And all of those things are working together to create this beautifully playing instrument. And I just think that it all works on the guitars that they're on. I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. My take on them, I like them, and I don't like them. The reasons I like them are they're lifelong. You don't have to refret your guitar ever again. And chances are, if you have more than one guitar, you're not refretting any of them because they're like a rotating thing. They don't really get worn down.
Yeah.
But with stainless steel frets, they're certainly not going to get worn down. But when you need to work on them, it's not easy. They are so tough that you may as well throw your files out right after you do it because they're going to break your files. That being said, and the garbage that people say about, oh, they make your guitar too bright, I'm going to call bullshit on that because you have an amplifier with a treble knob on it. You can just turn the treble down or the presence down a little bit. They will sound fantastic.
Good point.
But what I do like about the nickel frets is when it comes time to work on them and to do the fret sprouting, taking care of the fret sprouting on the sides, it's easy. You're, one or two passes with your file and then a piece of sandpaper and then a piece of steel wool, you're golden. Yeah. That's the best part of it. And they're easier to change when you want to do a refret.
Mike himself says his Sirs have stainless steel frets and they're very slick feeling. Mike, that was my first experience with stainless steel frets when I got my first Sir. I agree. They're great on those guitars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hang on a second. I think it was Will Neal asks if any of us have played any of Warren DeMartini Charvels.
I have.
I haven't played any of his personal ones, but I've played all of the other ones. The custom shop ones are cool. I mean, they all feel good. Even the made in Mexico ones, they feel pretty good for what they are. But these Nitro series and these vintage ones are a different animal. They're like the Fifth Avenue of New York, whereas maybe the other ones are, I don't know, Soho,
Yeah.
But still great because anything in New York is great. So anything made from Charvel is great. But these Nitros and of course the vintage ones, the pre-pros, 81, 80, 81, 82 in that era, those are just, you can't touch a guitar like that. They're amazing.
Will, I've played them. I've never played any of Warren's personal guitars, but I've played the USA's. I've played some of the limited run custom shops like the Age Snake, and then I've played the production models as well. They're all, look, if you're into that style of guitar, they're great. They sound great. They're very balanced, and the paint jobs are just incredible. I love them.
Rick, can you tell us and maybe show us that Jackson Strat head you have behind you?
Where is it? Oh, this one. This one is a this has got the very close to the Van Halen neck. This is a 1 3/4 as well. This is called they call these Jackson Woodburns. So what happened is when Charvel got taken over by Grover, he had to change the headstock because they're starting to get lawsuits on the headstock. So that's where he came out with the pointy. So before they did that, they had all these guitars necks that were made by Charvel. And what they did was they branded them on the back with literally branded on the back was Jackson guitars. So these were Charvel necks they were made on the Charvel plant. They were Charvel necks with the headstock, but Jackson had to identify them as being aftermarket necks. You couldn't buy a guitar that had those on there, so you could buy the neck afterwards. Like say somebody broke the neck on their guitar, and they would send them out a guitar. They would send them out one of these. Then they went exclusively to the pointy, and then once Fender took them back over, they came back with the headstock. Like this. So this is basically it's an early Charvel, but the inside of them are marked Jackson, which is pretty cool, pretty special thing. So yeah, I put this one on a like an aftermarket body. It's got the same configuration as you were talking about, but I had this one all relicked up and put on there. Like I said, I'll just buy parts as I find them, and this one here was really cool. I've owned, there's a lot of them out there. I mean, there's a lot of the Jackson Woodburn necks out there, which are really cool to find. But they play the same. They're just Charvel. Basically, they're Charvel neck. So if you find one that says Woodburn, you are getting the perfect example of what a Charvel is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, very cool. And then I was going to show you. This is a pre-pro that I got years ago when I was out in California. This one has a beautiful neck. I don't know if you guys can catch that.
Hang on, let me get you up on so you're solo.
Okay.
Come on now.
Yeah, this is a really, really beautiful neck. I mean, it's got the whole thing on that with the patina on there. Now this one here is Kiefer Sutherland owned this guitar.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was talking to a guy that he worked in Kiefer Sutherland's studio, and he had a bunch of guitars there, so people could record, and this was one of them. And now this one here also belonged to a band before Kiefer bought it. It was with the band, I want to say it's DeMalls. It was a early heavy metal Los Angeles band, and it belonged to one of those guys. And they refinished it. He had refinished it, and then Kiefer ended up buying it because he wanted a hard rocking guitar. And so when I bought the guitar off of him, I had Kiefer gave me a hand signed and a hand document showing me that it belonged to him and that it came from his studio, which was called Ironworks. I think it was Ironworks Studio out in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, this is a pre-pro, and the back neck plate. Usually the back neck plates were brass, but a lot of the early ones they were black, and they would wear off, and you'd be chrome underneath. And that was one of the telltale signs, which of course you learn that from Tracy's site, that telltale signs of the original pre-pro guitars. And they also had tiny tiny logos. The logos were a lot a lot smaller back then, which was not a great idea because once these big stars started playing their guitar, you couldn't tell what the hell it was. So then they started getting bigger logos. Like
Yeah.
you see.
Hey Rick,
see
if
the
you notice
difference.
if you notice that nut on that guitar you just showed us,
Yeah.
that's a vintage prototype nut, the one in your right hand.
Oh, this one here, yeah.
Yes, it has the humps on it.
Show me what you're talking about. These
See the
right
humps,
here?
the humps
Right
on the clamps?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's vintage prototype. You could, if you sold that nut by itself, you could probably sell it for like $1,200.
Oh my
Wow.
God. Well,
Just the
what's
nut.
the guitar? What's the guitar worth, Dave?
Well, let me see that Floyd for a second. Let me see the Floyd
Oh.
that's on that. Well, the guitar itself, that's a newer Floyd. That's like what we get these days. Same exactly. It might be first generation of that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's
That's
an
not
old
the whale
Floyd.
tail one.
No, it's not a whale tail, but it might be first generation. That guitar probably, if it was to sell, I would say that is $8,000 to $9,000, maybe a little bit more.
Hey Rick, can we talk about, are those the original frets on that neck?
Yeah, I think on this one, yeah, definitely. These are
What are they? Can you tell what they are?
they're jumbos. They're definitely like 6100 jumbos. They're I mean, it still plays great. It still has a great feel. In fact, sometimes when I do play, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'll play a guitar that the frets are kind of dulled down or a little mowed down.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like it. I don't feel like sometimes when you get really fresh frets put in and they're 6100s, they feel like, I mean, you just feel like you're doing leaps over the fretboard over each fret. It doesn't feel as I don't know, it doesn't feel as smooth. But like on the old ones like this one, I try not to do change frets out or do anything like that. I try really hard to keep things as original as possible, unless like usually through this area right here is where they go out, right? Like usually the frets, when you're playing so many leads in the E and the A area, they'll usually die out, and then I'll have to get them done. But like you said, David, you have so many guitars that you're changing them around. You're never playing the same guitar all the time.
I mean, you can if you really want to, but if you have all of them, they need to all be played. And generally, people that have a lot of guitars play through them all.
The stripe on the back of that pre-pro, is it a walnut stripe?
Yes, I believe it is walnut. I'm not good with wood, am I? Looks like walnut.
Yeah, I think it's walnut.
Yeah, and then a lot of the fret markers would be walnut too. Back in the day, they would use walnut fret markers.
That was my next
there.
question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times they would do that as well. I like back in the day, you could be able to call Charvel. I've got a buddy of mine that lives in Athens, and I met him at a guitar show, and he was carrying around a guitar case, and I was like, "What do you have in there?" And he's like, "Oh, I've got a Charvel." I was like, and I thought it was one of the, the Japanese ones, and I was like, "Well, what is it?" And he opened it up, and I was like, almost passed out because he had a pre-pro Charvel that he had, and he had the paperwork and everything. And back in the day, you could call. He literally called Charvel up, and he goes, "I want a guitar I want the neck and I want the body exactly like Eddie Van Halen's. I don't care about the paint job, but just give me the exact same neck and that." And those guys were like, they just go out in the warehouse and they just pulled one out and they go, "Okay." And then he has the receipt. He has everything. It even says Edward Van Halen style neck. And they had them. He bought one, and I've been trying to get that guitar off of him for years. I mean, it's probably the same as what I have now, but it's too cool with that paperwork that says that he ordered it directly from them and talked to them on the phone.
Yeah.
And that was like, back in the day they did that. And then I think they did that with Stars Guitars did that as well. They had there was a Vegas store that used to sell Charvel parts, but they had to put their own logo on there.
Yeah.
Rye Allen wants to see that guitar again. Can we look at that?
Which one?
The
one with the small the one with the small logo.
Yeah.
That is just wicked. Do you know what pickup's in it?
That's a DiMarzio. God, I want to say it's a. I don't know, DiMarzio for sure.
I can tell you. Did you show it to me one more time? That's a guitar I own, by the way. That is that's just a PAF.
PAF.
Old PAF.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This is this one. I mean, I love the pre-pro stuff. I've got I lucked out and got a few of them. I just love the tiny logo and that the whole idea back in the day that they were just not even thinking about branding. They were just like, oh, we'll just put this on there and we'll just ship these things out. Just
Yeah.
it kills me that they now the logos, quite a bit bigger.
I love that guitar. That's
Thank you.
got my name written all over it.
Yeah, that's a great one. Then they started making the hot rod flames, like the hot rod guitars from
Yeah.
from Matchbox. They started
Sure.
making those, and these have that's a great neck too. That has a lot of flame to it. Really beautiful. And the headstock on this one is almost. I mean, I don't know if you can get a close up on that, but the
Hang on,
headstock
let me
on
get you in
these.
there.
Yeah, the headstock on these. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty flamed out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and the rosewoods, they don't get a lot of love. Like people always want the maples, but I'm telling you, these rosewoods are Brazilian rosewood, and they have a feel, and they play so beautifully. I mean, they're just great. This slab,
I like the round string tree.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I have that on my green guitar. I have that.
yeah, very cool. Yeah, they have a rosewood doesn't get a lot of love, but and then the rare ones to find too are the ebony, and I've got a couple of ebony necks that are beautiful. I got one from a guitar player out in Los Angeles, a really good guitar player, and he had a ebony neck, and I was like, oh my God, I got to get that from you. So Kurt James is his name, and Kurt sold me that guitar, and he is so nice. He was in Racer X, I believe, and he was really nice afterwards. He sent me a message and said, hey, I looked up your band Shock 2 on YouTube, and you guys sound great. And I mean, he's just a fantastic guitar player, but he had one from back in the day, and it was probably a 1981 or an 82 ebony Charvel neck. Very hard to find, very cool. Very,
Rick,
very cool.
a question for you, Rick, from Paul. It says, any Charvels that you refuse to collect or play?
Ooh. No, I mean, no, I haven't played anything that I have not played anything that Charvel's put out that I've been like, I don't want to play that. I don't. The only ones that I really didn't fall in love with is probably because the amount of lacquer and stuff on the neck are the pointies from the foreign market pointies.
Okay.
They just had too much lacquer on them. It was just, that's a personal thing. But I did love Jackson, so go figure. I mean, I do love Jacksons, and those usually the back of the headstocks were painted. I had a couple different Jacksons. Soloists were beautiful. Yeah. They are beautiful guitars.
Painted necks. Yeah, neck through painted, right?
Yeah, neck through painted, everything. But they had the shape. They had that original Charvel shape. So if you get yourself an early Jackson, I mean, you're putting your hands on something. It's a whole different animal than it is playing a Jackson current day, which would be an awesome idea if they did like a Nitro series / Jackson, which was like the Jeff Beck soloist.
Oh,
they went back and did some of those and beat them up, make them look like they've 30, 35 years old Jacksons. I mean, I would probably buy one of those for the feel alone. Just
I thought
the feel.
Maybe they did do a limited run of those a couple of years ago, and I thought it was like a Music Zoo thing, and that had the smaller Jackson logo.
Did they do it like relic out, or was it?
I think they were relic as well.
I gotta look that up. I'm interested. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about this. How about first of all, do you have or would you buy, if you didn't already have, the style of Charvel Jackson that Steve Vai used in the Crossroads movie in the duel at the end?
That was
it Eugene's Bag of Tricks, as I think it's called? That
was the red Jackson, the pointy. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
The Jack Butler.
Yes.
Yeah, the Jack Butler. Yeah, I've got a USA Jackson old pointy neck, and I had that on the red body. I mean, I actually had something like that. Yeah, they're great. I mean, you get your hands on these old Charvel pointy necks or these old Charvel or Jackson pointy necks. You get your hands on those. I'm telling you, you're not going to get rid of those things, man. They are sweet. They are awesome. I mean, Steve Vai did not play that because he was broke, and that's the only thing they gave him as a prop. I mean, that was his guitar.
Yeah,
that's what he
absolutely.
chose. I mean, these
he
people
broke it
choose.
though. He did break it. He broke it when he dropped the guitar at the end of Crossroads. That neck broke, and it's now hanging at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the broken neck.
That's the only downer on those where the headstocks would break off because they were just so fragile.
Yeah.
The way they were formed. Like, I don't know, Kramer's were a lot thicker. They had that, Kramer had the headstock was done in a hockey stick type way. They had like this pointed angle that was super cool. I wish I had. I do. I got the pointy here.
Yeah, let me get you back up here.
Yeah. So this pointy. That's just a great graphic, right there. That's a great graphic. And then these all had like the metal, it had the metal covers.
Metal plate. Nice.
Yeah, metal plates, and you could see this neck. Oh, this neck is so awesome. But they had like what do they call that? A scarf joint?
Yeah, scarf.
How they put that together. So they would break a lot. I mean, especially if you put a Floyd through that, you could see the neck is not wizard thin like the Ibanez, but it's pretty damn thin up there. And you'd put a Floyd through there, and at that time, it's like we were talking about earlier, they went through the back of them, and it would make it even more fragile. So these are kind of hard to find, but you could see the form of that right there. You could see how thin that is. Yeah, they're I don't want to say delicate because they're not delicate, but they'll have like hairline cracks you'll see because of the scarf joint. But these things, I mean, the necks on these they're awesome. They are incredible. You guys would love it. David, you got to get over here to Columbus and check out my guitars. Play some of them.
What year is that from, Rick? Do you know what year that is?
God, was it maybe 80? What, 83? Maybe 80, 83,
I think it's an 83.
Sweet.
83.
Yeah, it's great. And then you could tell, like, as they started getting bigger, that logo got bigger. You see that? Like, they started selling them, and you could see them from stage. Then they've got some guitars that have artist logos. And artist logos means they just use a way bigger size logo, so you could see it from further away.
Yeah, like on that DeMartini guitar, that if you didn't notice, that logo was almost the whole size of the headstock.
Yeah, and then like later on, they went like the Jackson.
Yeah,
it just got huge. Like They just were like, we got to sell these guitars, which is that's cool too. But for me, I just love those early years. The early years is where they were the innocence of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Caldwell asked, "What is the bridge humbucker pickup in my Warren USA modeled after?" Hugh, that's a really great question. I don't really know. Dave might know. I mean, it's called an RTM. I know that, and it's a hot pickup, as you're aware, hot like a JB. But the magnet in the RTM, I believe the magnet's an Alnico 2. So I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, I would say that it was probably modeled after some sort of JB, but with a Alnico 2, that wouldn't be quite right. So I don't know. Dave, do you know?
I don't know, but what I do know is the pickups that are in his personal guitars are JBs.
Well, I will say this about that RTM that they're stacking the signature models with. I think it's a great pickup. I love the compression of that pickup. I think it's really smooth. It's balanced. Everything feels really, really even to my ear. And I also think it's a really, in addition to being a really articulate pickup, I think it's a really easy pickup to control, especially for something that's hotter. So I don't know if that really answered your question, Hugh, but
I think did they come out?
Oh, go ahead. No. Rye Allen says my '88 Model 6 with a Kaler trim has a Kaler trim, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's my only
Yeah.
guitar with a Kaler. Rye, my first Charvel back in 1986, it was a purple Model 6 with a Kaler. And I didn't know how to use it back then, so, I would change strings. I changed strings like within the first week, and I think I put a heavier gauge on it, and the trem came up in the back like crazy. And, when you're 16, you don't know what you're doing. I thought the guitar was broken, so I brought it back and bought my first Kramer, which is that one right there.
With the Floyd.
Floyd Rose.
Yeah.
I then became aware of how to set it up. But that one has the Statue of Liberty and the fireworks on it, the Dennis Klein.
Yeah.
I just wanted to show you guys the third and final guitar that I bought, which is all Koa. The body is Koa. Let me see if I can get me on here. You may or may not have already seen this guitar, but it's all Koa. I put these pickups in it. It had a set of Duncans in it, which I didn't like. It made the guitar sound a little too dark. So I went on the net and bought a set of vintage 1970s DiMarzios, which the bridge is a super distortion and the neck here is a PAF. And it's got an ebony fretboard.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And
Beautiful.
The neck is Koa, and it's flamed Koa in some areas. It's to die for. All these guitars, the trem works great. The fluttering, I don't know if you can see that. Let me get it on here. Still fluttering. It's crazy. On these guitars, I happen to like the tremolos floating. But when I got them, they were against the body, which is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. I've got a lot of guitars like that. But I wanted these to be true to the originals. When they made the originals, they just set them up to float.
And those are that's a 1 3/4.
Yeah, all three of
yeah.
them. All three of
Which
those
is-
necks are 1 3/4.
How comfortable is that? Like you usually don't think you would be good with that wide of a neck, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
comfy.
I always thought I was a 1 5/8 guy. All my guitars in the back there are 1 5/8, except for the Ibanez's are a little wider. But everything else that I own pretty much is 1 5/8. And then I got these things, and it's like, well, wait a second. How come I can play more comfortably on these? Well, because the
Yeah.
neck is a little wider, and my fat fingers don't flubble. Oh, flubble. New word. Flubble. All around the fretboard, I'm hitting the note, all the strings and all the notes
Yeah.
without flubbing and without touching other strings. So
Yeah.
that whole misconception of a larger neck, a wider neck being harder to play. Don't think that way.
Yeah, if it is hard to play, it's probably because the nut is spaced for 1 3/4. The secret is to put the smaller nut on there, so the string spacing is natural string spacing for you. Because otherwise, you feel like there's a lot of space in between each string when you just have, like, say, a regular bone nut that's on a 1 3/4. It'd be spaced that way. The secret is get it spaced for a 1 5/8 neck on there, and it changes the whole feel of the neck.
Papa
Rick.
Papa Blue says, "Yep, that's the one. Box it real good before shipping. Thanks, Dave. You're my favorite."
It is a cool guitar, no doubt. Yeah, right. My Model 6, same is from that same time period too. I would think off the top of my head, mine was an 89 model maybe, but I'm not positive. Had a Kaler, and I've said it on this show before that I got along with that Kaler just fine. I also had a G&L with a Kaler on it, very similar to what Cantrell played. Well, not similar, same guitar. And I got along with that just fine. Anthony Murphy says he put an RTM in his Model 5A, signed by Warren on the back. It's a great pickup. I agree. I think it's a great pickup, and I'm glad that Warren signs the back of those pickups because they're not cheap. They are expensive, and they do come out of the Seymour Duncan custom shop. So, yeah, that's a cool pickup.
That's very cool. Hey,
Yeah,
real
that's a
quick,
little-
I want to just give a quick shout out to our friend Jody Head Straps. This is one of her straps. I know it looks like one of those ones that you get from the 60s, one of those Ace straps. The quality on these straps are high, very high quality. It's good leather ends, really good leather. The metal part here that you can adjust your strap for how big your belly is. She will make you a custom strap as well, leather, conchos, the whole 9 yards. Check it out, jodyheadstraps.com, I believe. So,
That's a cool strap, Dave.
yeah. And I'll be getting a few more for us to show. And I think you'll be getting 1 or 2 as well, Ty.
Yeah, those are cool.
To show off, yeah. So
I love the Hoot Nanny.
yeah, this is Hoot Nanny style. Excellent straps. Check that out.
So my question is to you guys: what's the first artist you saw that was playing a Charvel guitar?
Back of Van Halen 2.
For me, actually, to see it with my own eyes, it would be Warren DeMartini in '83.
Right?
Yeah, probably the same for me, Dave. In person, seeing it in person, that's probably right for me as well. I would have to think about that though too, because I did see. When did Jake join Ozzy?
Well, 80s, 80s.
It was the Bark at the Moon tour.
Yeah.
I don't remember
84?
what year that was.
84, maybe?
Maybe that was 84.
Yeah.
45.
Jim
Yeah,
Nicholas has a question. Jim Nicholas says, David Nesdell, hey now, is the early Charvel head on VH1 different from a Fender CBS? I swear the shape is slightly different. Great show, guys. It may be slightly different. I mean, to my eyes, it looks the same. I know Musicraft makes an exact replica of that VH1 neck headstock. And to me, and I have a couple of 60s, late 60s big headstock CBS headstock Fenders. And they look to be exactly the same to me. But again, I never seen the black and white, the original black and white from that first record. All I've seen is replicas, and I know that the replicas that Musicraft makes, they're very close, because Scott Smith is friends with Eddie Van Halen. So I would imagine one has something to do with the other.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Anthony Murphy says, for me, it was Jake with Ozzy in that concert video. Yes. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to show us, Rick? Anything that we haven't seen that you would like to... You got a couple Les Pauls there, I see.
Yeah, I've got an old Junior. Well, because EVH, man, back that was on the Van Halen 1 record for the photo shoot. His other guitar was a Junior that looked like it was set on fire. Did you know what I'm talking about?
I certainly do. I've seen it. Yep.
Yeah. So an old Junior, and then I've got a Les Paul here. Belongs to my buddy Andy Harrison. Great guitar player, good friend, great friend, and we go back and forth with trading stuff. We trade Charvels, we trade, all kinds of stuff. So right now I've got that guitar. I've got there's an old 84? Oh, it's an 84 body that I'm getting ready to put together. See, like those all these little markings like this that are inside of the pocket here. All these things, they are hieroglyphics for people that know what they're doing when they're collecting these. They know who signed it, who didn't. They know the dates. They know what plate went with what. Sometimes the plates would be whatever they could grab onto. Other times they would match perfectly if it was a custom build. But a body like this is, Floyd mounted. They had taken those out and they put in the other type of pivot screw. But something like this, that's what I would do. I would just collect, and I would grab a body like that, and I would take the worn neck, and I would slap those babies together, and you've got yourself just a killer 1984 Strat head. And that's what I do. I'll just get parts where I can, and I'll put these things together and make myself a new guitar and get myself back into it. It's like like Billy Gibbons said, whatever takes you back to the instrument. And sometimes it takes another instrument to bring you back to your instrument, to get you interested in. Some people it's pedals, some people it's amps. For me, guitars were always the sexiest thing to have and to play. It was just always been attractive to me. I love pedals and I love amps, but I never had more than maybe 2 or 3 amps. But guitars, oh my God. And I've sold a bunch over the last few months. I've gotten rid of a bunch. So, and I probably will get rid of more here and there. I'll purge. I go through purging on them. So there's a lot of people out there, people that are watching, and you guys that would be like, oh, I'd like to have one. I kind of want to pass that forward and let people have these things rather than to keep them. I've had them for years, and I've had certain points to where I'm like, you know what, I got to let other people play these and enjoy them. It's just something that collecting is awesome, but I just love to play guitar. And at the end of the day, I can't play them all. So you never know, you find these people that sell these things. I just had a friend of mine, he just sent me a picture of just a killer early pre-pro Charvel that looked like it had some really definitive markings on there. And he was asking me if I thought it was real, and it was just it came out of some guy's closet, and he probably hasn't shown it in years. They're out there. These guitars are sitting under beds, and they're in people's homes, and they'll surface. So I mean, just to keep these guitars alive is kind of what I want to do. I love it. I love it. People's eyebrows always raise when you say you've got a Charvel. If you're a guitar player and somebody says, I've got a real Charvel, they just go, you do? Like, let's hear about it. And let's hear. I want to play one. And
right.
A lot of times when they do play them, they're like, would you sell this, or how much is it, and that type of thing. But I just suggest if anybody could get their hands on, if you just even see a Nitro Series guitar, play that, and then you'll get an idea what the originals are. Why Gilmore played them, why Eddie played them, why Rick Springfield, any of these people, Dimebag. You get it. You'll get it. You'll say, like this thing is like a comfortable pair of jeans. That's what it feels like. It's just fits like a glove.
Brian Spalding says he wished all collectors could think like you, Rick. Great idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I agree, Brian.
That's good stuff.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any stars, Rick? Do you have somebody asked a question about early star guitars?
Yeah.
Strathead stars. Have you collected those?
I've got a couple of them. I had one that I had. I've got one downstairs. It's beautiful. It's a white star, and it's got black binding on it, Floyd, and a rosewood neck. It's beautiful. I've got one of those, and then I sold a star body to a friend of mine, David Scott, out in California. I sold him a body, and it'd been painted over. It was just a really bad paint job, and I was just like, I'm not going to do anything with this. And I sold it to him, and he took it to a friend of ours, and he went out there and he started rubbing the paint off, just starting to chip the paint off and rub the paint away. And underneath it was like the most beautiful black and yellow graphic on this guitar. And It was amazing. I was eating my heart out. I'm like going, oh my God, I sold him this guitar like this. I sold him this guitar body for like not a lot of money. And then he turns out, he goes, look what I got. And it was this whole graphic that was underneath this really bad paint job. It was amazing. It was amazing. And you hear stories like that where somebody will buy a black and yellow and then say he gives it to his son, and his son's like, say, in a band like a sub pop kind of grunge band, spray rattle can it black. They'll just spray paint them, and then you'll look inside the pocket of the guitar, they're selling it or something, and you'll see that black and yellow in there, and you're like, holy shit. I think one of our friends found one like that. It was, oh my God, what's the guy, our friend's name that collects the ESPs, David? He has the ESP guitars.
Oh, Jerry DeNovo.
Yeah.
Jeremy, yeah.
Jeremy, he found one like that. It was a painted over black and yellow Charvel. And he was like, oh my God, he just noticed the paint job inside of the cavity of the electronics cavity
Wow.
had
I'll
some
ta-
black and yellow in there.
I'll
Cool.
tell you a quick story. My dear friend Louis Rios. He's here. He's a Long Island guy. Actually, his guitar was the first Charvel Strat head that I fell in love with, and I wanted to have it. And that graphic right there, the polka dot. So anyway, his Charvel with the polka dot graphic, when he first bought it, it was a black and yellow.
Oh,
And he of course he loved Van Halen, but then he was a gigging guitar player, and he didn't want to gig that guitar because he didn't want to be known as Eddie Van Halen clone. Right. So the next best thing that people didn't really get is he was also a huge Randy Rhoads fan. So he repainted his guitar black with white polka dots on it. And he played the guitar like that for most of its life. And when I met him in 1989, he was playing that guitar, and my mind was blown. I was like, wow, a Charvel. I've only heard about these. Never seen a Strat head Charvel. Had a vintage prototype nut, vintage prototype bridge. But at that time, I didn't know what it was. Now I do, because I still see the guitar. But maple neck, it was amazing. The whole thing was just an incredible guitar. And he would let me play it from time to time, and I always said, how much do you want for this thing? How much do you want? I'll pay whatever you want. Just give me a price, I'll buy it. He's like, man, this is my guitar. It's my guitar. That's all I can tell you. It's my guitar. I'm not going anywhere. It's the guitar I play every day. It's my guitar.
Yeah.
So I understood. And he just recently repainted it because it was all chewed up. I mean, it's been he has a lot of guitars now, but through his career, it was the only guitar he played. It was the only one he had. I mean, he might have had two guitars, but he played that one every day. And it got really chewed up. So he was watching me on a show at one point, and Craig from CHS Guitars was either on, or we mentioned him, or we showed a guitar with one of his paint jobs. So he sent his guitar there. And now the guitar... It's adorned on with it's a black sparkle paint job, but it's got all different sparkle, like pink, green, blue, all kinds of sparkles in it. It is amazing with that neck on it, and all the 9 yards on it. It's just beautiful. Still one of my favorite guitars I've ever seen.
Yeah, they age so well too. They age very well. It's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey Ty, you said you played Sir guitars?
I like Sir a lot. I play a lot of different guitars, but I like Sir guitars. Yeah.
What's your guitar of the moment now? What's your big one? Do you have any Charvels, or are you?
I do not have a Charvel right now. No.
Do you have like the Sir? Is it more like the Charvel type, like the rocker guitar with the two hums or a one hum, or is it a normal Stratocaster?
The Sir that I use the most is a hum single hum.
Okay.
With a roasted maple neck. It's got a 16-inch radius, not a compound radius, 16-inch flat.
Yeah.
It's got a relatively thin neck. It's great. It's a great guitar. Love it. Very versatile guitar.
Well, we got to get you, David. We got to get you into a Charvel. We got to have.
I'm a big Charvel fan. I've owned. I've never owned an early Strat head Charvel, but I had some pointies back in the day, and even after the day, because I thought they were cool guitars. And always liked them. And then when I was really excited, remember Charvel, it was a resurgence, what, Dave? 08? Yeah. 09? They started releasing USA. Yeah. I mean, they did the San Dimas, and then they did the SoCal, and you could get into a USA Charvel for $1,000. Yeah. And the SoCals had DiMarzios, the San Dimas had Duncans. I always thought that was like super cool. Always loved the black and yellow. Thought it was great. And But the Warren guitars were just, they just knocked me out, man. I always thought the graphics on those were so cool. I always loved the Frenchie.
Oh yeah.
Loved the Snake. I owned Charvel did a limited run for a guitar shop that I had bought some guitars from in California, and they did a limited run of an aged Snake. So it was like a 25-year-old. It was made to look like a 25-year-old Snake. So it was a pretty wicked guitar. It just great guitar. Maybe one that I should have held on to. Maybe. But there's always something else, Rick, right? There's always another guitar pursuit. And like you said, if you're not, they're meant to be played. And I'm kind of like, and Brian sounds like he's like this too. Brian Spalding in our chat. If they're not being played, you just got to move them. Let them go. Get something else you're going to play. They're just meant to be played. So
Absolutely.
Like the 24 guitar. I call it the 24 guitar because it's the Kiefer Sutherland guitar. That guitar right there, that's the first time I've had that out of the case in probably over a year. And so me just showing it, it's like going, man, I've got to really let some people in on this, and I can't keep these things in my basement or at friend's house. I loan them out a lot too. Like my buddy Andy has a couple of my guitars. I got a couple of his guitars. A friend of ours, Chad, he wanted to see some stuff, and I go, just keep it. Just take the guitar and hold on to it. And I do that a lot too, because I just think sometimes it's like they're just sitting down doing nothing. And collections are great, but I mean, I've got a little boy now, and I spend a lot of time with him. I love doing stuff with him. It takes away from playing guitar, which means I've got more guitars sitting down doing zero. Mm-hmm. So I sometimes I do think like I'll get rid of this and then I'll buy that. I'll get rid of this and I'll get that. The only guitars really that I'm seeing right now that I'm like going, I kind of Jones for is probably the 78 and the 79 Van Halen Relics. Because I get such a thrill out of what that custom shop does. I just get a thrill out of it. I just think they're just artists. It's beautiful stuff. I fell in love with that custom shop when I saw the Jeff Beck guitar, the Beck Telecaster, the no-caster one.
Sure, yeah.
I was at the NAMM show and I saw that, and they had this video, and they're doing this finish on there, and they're running they're running like water over it as they're relicking the guitar. They're running like cold water over the body, and they're doing this whole thing. I'm going, man, these guys are they're artists. And it to me, those are the only two guitars right now that I'm like going, well, maybe the third one would probably be the Jeff Beck guitar. But I just love what the custom shop's doing and how they can make something feel and look exactly like that era. So have you guys?
Yeah, I think Dave and I were talking about this last week. I mean, you've got so many. I mean, are we experiencing a golden era in guitars right now? Because you've got so many good things being made, and at every price point. I mean, think about this. Like, I mean, we gave a guitar away on this show a month or so ago that was a very inexpensive guitar, incredible quality for that price point. And you've just got great. It's just great. It's a great time for gear, and you can get a great $300 guitar. You can get a fantastic $500 guitar, and then everything that's $1,000 and above. I mean, they're just varying degrees of awesome, right? It's great. Brian chimed in to speak for himself on that last. He said, transfer the love to someone else with the same enthusiasm, keep the feel of the guitar alive, and move them to other people. Helps to keep our art alive, and I agree. That's always a good position.
Yeah. I think you're right too, and I think the invention of the CNC machines has really, really perfected a guitar for such a low cost. It like everything fits so perfectly together now because everything is made so well. Even though they're, like you said, an inexpensive guitar plays incredibly well. Whereas like maybe in the 70s or 80s, you'd get an inexpensive guitar. It was just, you could barely play it.
You barely play it. They were awful.
Yep.
Look at the Wolfgangs now. You look at a Wolfgang that's made in Indonesia or a Wolfgang that's made in Mexico. Those things play incredible.
They're
play
incredible
great.
guitars for $1,000 or less. Yeah.
You're
Unbelievable.
exactly right.
Unbelievable. And it saves kids so much time on playing a guitar and having terrible action, having just the feel of guitar is really bad. Then a kid starts playing, they go, I don't want to do this anymore. Now they play it, it's comfortable, it's ergonomic. I mean, these guitars, like it's like say getting a Strat now, they've got it down. I mean, it just feels right. The bridge is properly put together. Everything is done right. So, I mean, for a kid to learn to play guitar now versus the way it was for us, I mean, when we just take that record player and
Oh, no, man. How many needles did we wear out doing that? And you're dealing with you were dealing with an instrument at the time that was just not, it's just not as friendly as they are today, which is, part of the reason that we're seeing all these great young players with all this incredible dexterity, because the guitars are better, the learning resources are better, the availability of information is just better. It's a great time to be a guitar player, to be a musician.
It is.
It really is.
YouTube is phenomenal in helping people become better guitar players. I mean, even if like I just get like a little inspiration or something, and I hear some funk song or whatever. You hear like Roller Coaster, and you're like the licks. You just like before I'd have to just listen to the record and figure it out myself. Now you go on YouTube and a guy's like right there showing you.
And showing you how to do it exactly.
Yep. And sometimes it's the artist, if they're cool. I mean, the artist is really cool about that. Like Ty Tabor from King's X.
Here's
how I play my song. Yeah, here's how I play my song. I mean, I go, how cool is that? I mean, when I was a kid.
Fan.
That's right.
What a fan that is.
Alex Isom does the same thing.
Yeah, it's so cool. I remember there was a Van Halen issue of Guitar, where our Guitar Player magazine, where they had stills of him showing you how he did his. I don't know if you guys know that. Remember that it was in Guitar, and they had like little stills. And I go, why couldn't have that been video? Like, how many times I looked at those pictures, going, I don't know what the hell he's doing there. He's like, well, on this, and he's like, example picture number 4, example number 5. I mean, it's just all imagination and ears when you're learning how to play guitar when you're our age. When we were young kids, it was all of our ears. If you saw, actually we're lucky enough to see the artists play, you could kind of figure out what they're doing. But Van Halen, they weren't on a tour. I mean, I was too young to see them, but they were opening up for Sabbath and stuff. I had no idea what that guy was doing on guitar until their very first video came out, which was, I mean, not the first video, but the first video that was put on TV was on Van Halen 2. And then I started seeing him do this, and I go, oh, that's what he's doing. And that guitar magazine, he was showing how he was playing that stuff. But could you imagine if, it's almost like alien to think about how Eddie came out of nowhere and started doing this, like this sound that we've never even heard of, and you had no resource really to know what the hell he was doing.
I know.
Right.
It's incredible.
Right.
Chad said we all wore out Live Without a Net. Yeah, you're exactly right, because it was the first time we got the concert film, and we could sit there with that VHS and watch all the technique. Right? I mean, it was amazing stuff.
An amazing time.
It was.
It really was. And I really believe it had an impact on our ears.
Yes.
And how we developed our ears, the ability to be able to sing what you play and play what you sing. I mean, it can't be overstated. There's an inherent value in being able to do that.
I agree 100% because I'm in a cover band now, and I don't read music. I can read chord charts and stuff, but I don't read at all. And I'm learning everything under the sun. Whatever song the person wants to hear, oh, they want to hear this song, they want to hear that, and it's all ear. I do everything from what I did, like exactly what you're saying, Ty. Exactly that. It's all by ear. I can literally be able to figure out what's going on by not going on YouTube and watching that stuff, but seriously just listening to it and going, oh, he's playing this or he's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's very difficult. I mean, you're not going to see that in young players going to be able to have that ear to figure out things. A lot of times they're either schooled and they know what's going on, or else if they're not schooled, they're just going to be fumbling and going, I'll just go to YouTube and they'll show me how to do it,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I mean,
we are lucky. We are lucky that we can go to YouTube and we can see it, and sometimes we can see it from the artists themselves, or we can see it from a 9-year-old that's actually laying it down, right? But I'm a big believer in education, and I believe that there is a tremendous value in trying to tie all of that which you have under your fingers, tying it together in your head. I heard Guthrie Govan say one time the difference between a good guitar player and a great guitar player was how quickly his mind worked, and that means something to me as a player. And I believe the more knowledge that we have here, we can transfer here, and I don't believe that can be. I believe that's a really important thing.
Oh, it's everything. Memory is everything in music. Memory. I mean, you're recalling things and you're pulling things back, and you're recalling, because like I remember being a kid learning Rush songs and learning Alex Lifeson stuff, like the solo to Limelight and stuff like that. There was no video, there's no instructions. I mean, we're just trying to figure that thing out, and I just remember trying to learn, being so frustrated. And then now when I start learning songs and somebody will have a certain solo or whatever, I'm like, that's the Limelight solo, or that's derivative of a Sabbath, or it's all memory. It's all recalling that. And that's what brings you back to like learning it so much easier, is complete memory from way back. Like I, listen to REO Speedwagon and listening to some of those guitar solos on there, they're freaking awesome. You don't hear guitar solos anymore in songs. You don't hear them, and these were pop songs that were selling millions. And Gary Richrath was just blazing these solos.
Well, you brought up Gary Richrath.
Yeah.
Now, most people say, "Oh, I saw my first Les Paul when I saw Peter Green or when I saw Jimmy Page." I wanted my first Les Paul when I saw Gary Richrath play a 59 Les Paul. That's when I first saw a Les Paul. That's when I first knew of a Les Paul, back in like 1983.
Yeah.
Man, those first MTV videos that you would see from REO Speedwagon, and they're playing their Goody Two Shoes songs, which are still cool rock and roll, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And
classic rock.
The killing solo by this little fat dude playing a Les Paul.
Oh man,
amazing!
But his solos were just shredding. I mean,
amazing.
He's playing Marshall Stack through, like I don't know how he got away with it, but I mean, back in those days, those guitar solos were blazing, and to learn that stuff was not easy, man. You're learning stuff by Toto, and you're learning these guitar solos by Van Halen and Alex Lifeson. Think about those guitars for guitar players back in the day. These were, I mean, if we had it lucky, we would have been growing up playing like during the grunge time, because it was during the grunge playing, you go, I'm just playing some killer chords and a couple great riffs, and that's all I have to learn. I mean, that's back then. That's all they did. We were a wall of great guitar players. Neil Schon. You go on and on.
Absolutely.
Tom Schultz, all these great guitar players that were amazing.
Amazing stuff.
They also taught us about tone. They also taught us what good tone is.
Yeah.
Because it was an honesty to it, right? It was before, it was still analog, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a guitar into an amp, and it was cranked, and you learned a lot about tone. And
Yeah.
we
Oh
we
yeah.
were we were very lucky there, and it's why we're all chasing, chasing things now and spending money on the types of gear that we're buying, because we're still trying to go get that tone that we were romanced with, decades ago. So they taught us a lot about the guitar. They taught us a lot about playing great solos and writing great songs and putting great chord progressions together and being melodic. But they taught us how we're supposed to sound as well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. It was it was very warm sounding. Everything from Brian May. I mean, today there's a lot of great guitar players out there. I watched some of these videos and watched some of these bands. There was a band that I recently saw that's kind of a throwback to that they're awesome group, that Royal Tusk. They're a band out of Canada, and they've got that feel of what we used to listen to. They've got the rock stuff, and they've got some pop stuff in there. The guitar player's great. It's a band to check out. They're great. They kind of feel of a throwback for guys like our age to listen to a new band and go, hell yeah!
Like, I know that's cool, man. That's exciting.
Yeah.
We need that. Rock music needs that.
We do.
Yeah.
It's not going to come from us. It's going to come from
the next generation,
people that are much younger.
Yep.
We need that.
We're hoping radio comes back to a guitar-oriented platform. Like, you just don't see guitar on the radio or on TV. You just don't, can't get that charge you used to. I used to get a charge when I was a kid. This is before rock guitar really hit me. I used to get a big charge out of watching Roy Clark play. Roy Clark would be on Hee Haw, and I would just be. My dad would call me in and go, "Rick, get in here," and then Roy Clark would just be blazing, and it was just the universal language, man. I mean, it didn't matter if he was playing country, didn't matter what he was playing. He was playing flamenco guitar. He was incredible. Like, talent is talent. It doesn't matter. But there's they need to have a platform so we could enjoy that. But it's not on TV and it's not on radio. The only way we're going to see it is YouTube. You find these things, have people, talk to people and say, "What are you listening to?"
Yeah,
that's the way.
I agree. Joe Manuel says Reb Beach was the greatest unknown guitarist from the '80s. I mean, Reb is just a monster. Just a monster player. Everything he plays is beautiful. Ben Coombs, our friend Ben Coombs, is in the chat and our moderator every single week. Ben did a great interview Sunday night on his channel, Canucks with Guitars, with Jake Fawn. And a lot of you Van Halen fans know that Jake he's playing guitar with the DLR band, and they were opening up for it. But he is a smoking good country player.
That's
English guy, lives in California, great country player. I'm just fantastic chicken picking technique, lots of right hand muting. There's a lot to be learned from that player, and he's making his living right now as a rock player, but he's got all of these other chops. You should really check out Ben's interview and go check out that guy's YouTube channel and watch him play. I mean, just fantastic.
I agree.
Awesome.
Good stuff. You have anything else to show us, Rick?
Oh God, what else do I have here? I have. Let's see, I already showed you those necks. I got a couple necks here that are cool. These are kind of the idea of. These are ones that I was telling you I'll just put them together.
Yeah.
I'll just buy them and put them together. And so this is an old 80. I think it's maybe an 81 neck, and they have the markings on there. I bet you like Tracy will know, or one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing is that really to look for on those is they have a very unique truss rod. The truss rod is very recognizable once you start collecting these. The fret spacing is very recognizable. The skunk stripe in the back, those are very recognizable. Where they go down to, where they stop. Where they stop on the neck is really important to identify these. Here's another good example of a Charvel. This one has the wear on that is just killer.
Yeah.
That's probably 81 maybe, but I love that look of the maple. Just kind of burn in, and a lot of people will try to clean that stuff off, and I'm like, if I ever get any fretwork, I'm like, don't touch the fretboard. And the truss rod again is a very unique one. That's a super cool one. The other necks, I think I showed you kind of what I brought out.
Well, that's cool. What's that? It looks like a rosewood fretboard, pointy headstock, almost sticking out with black hardware, sitting to your left.
Oh, they're right over here. That's my buddy Andy's Jackson. That's
Nope,
an
not
early
that one.
Jackson. Oh, the pointy.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see. Oh yeah, that's the Jackson. This is an early. Yeah, that's an early soloist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the ones I was telling you about. It's got that same feel. This is my buddy Andy's. I found this one at a Sam Ash had it, and it was like maybe $600, and it was in the used bin.
Wow.
And I called my buddy Andy up, and I was like, dude, they've got one. So I picked it up for him, and then now I'm trying to get it back. Of course, it's awesome. And I've got before. Let's see, the last one I have here, this is another great example of the graphic. That is like kind of like the old 70s Vans.
Yeah, sure.
You remember that? The old 70s, the Vans that had the paint job of the movement kind of.
Yeah.
This is a great example of. Yeah, this is the great example of the graphics that they were doing back in the San Dimas plant. This one has the rosewood, which is the Brazilian rosewood, which is do they make Brazilian rosewood anymore? Are they allowed to get into the rainforest or?
Well, the custom shop will make them from time to time. I know Gibson uses it on their R9s, R8s, and R9s. Not
I remember
every one of them,
while-
but they'll do a run. They'll do a run with Brazilian.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any other companies do Brazilian yet.
This Nags I have right here has Brazilian on the board.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. I remember where Gibson had all their rosewood, Brazilian rosewood confiscated. They took it. The government took it from them because it was illegal to cut down trees there, and so it was kind of rare. I didn't know if they're back up and running now with it, but yeah, that's one. It has the same the string retainer and the of course the awesome which is the crown heads, which is what Eddie had on the original Frankenstein. Those are really rare to find. Most of them were gold. Didn't matter what the hardware was, gold. And then sometimes they were silver, like on the Kiefer Sutherland one. That one has the silver ones on there, but they were crown heads, and they're usually positioned like down this way. Some of them you'll see, drop tab. They're positioned that way, and I don't know, Dave. Is that what's that, Fred? No,
that's new.
This one here.
Yep, that's new.
Yeah,
needs a string retainer.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a good example of what they were doing. They got into the graphics big time, and those were big sellers. So yeah, to find one of these it's very rare to find a graphic one. A lot of times, like I said, this graphic would have been covered by spray paint. Some grunge kid would have just painted over it, or some teenager would have been like, or like you said, somebody that didn't want to be like, oh, I don't want to be a Van Halen guy, but I want to get my own band, and then they would just paint over it. And so a lot of times underneath those paint jobs is a killer graphic. But that's a great example of one as well. That whole Charvel line, when they were doing the graphic stuff, that's when it really took off for them. I mean, once they did the Eddie paint job, and then they just went from there. And there's a couple guys, I think they're on your site. they're following you that they worked in that plant back in the day. They've been posting some killer Charvel pictures.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. That's awesome.
Joe Manuel says he has an 85 soloist. Great guitar. What color is it, Jeff?
I think it's pink. I think he has a pink one.
Cool.
That's cool. I would love to have a pink soloist like that.
Joe's a good buddy of mine. He lives here on the island, and he is one of the premier guitar players in New York.
Cool.
Amazing guitar player, and he plays everything.
You had Steve Brown on recently,
yeah,
right?
Yes, I did.
So did he have a Charvel? Was he a Charvel guy?
No, but well, he's an EVH guy, so I think he can get the Charvel stuff if he wants to.
Yeah. Well, I find that the EVH stuff is real close. Like it has the EVH stuff. They took his ideas on the neck. I think he took a lot of that from the Charvel days when he took him over to his new company, his other companies, because the PV ones are especially Charvel-esque. They have that unfinished wood and maybe the gunstock oil over it. And it's got a real close to that feel. Which I was now the Sur guitars. What do they use on the wood? Are they lacquered or do they use gunstock oil or?
The ones that I have are roasted, so they're.
They don't have any.
They don't. They don't have any. And like I've got a Fender custom shop right here that's roasted too, and it's unfinished as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I didn't know you didn't need to put anything on those.
I've never oiled them or anything. Like I do have some Music Man guitars that do get oiled with gunstock oil, and I've got some roasted necks from Music Man as well that are really nice. Joe, the reason that they're roasted is because they say that it is a technique that removes the way that I understand it, Dave, you might have a deeper, but I understand that it extracts more of the moisture out of the wood, thus stabilizing it to an even greater degree.
It gives it more of a vintage feel as well, and your guitar will actually resonate, and the neck won't move like it does on a lot of newer guitars.
And I live in a very humid climate, so everything moves here. And the roasted guitars they do live up to their billing. They are a lot more stable.
I agree.
They have that. Is that on the Guthrie guitar too?
Yes.
Is that roasted? Okay.
Yep.
Those guitars are interesting to me. I'd love to play one of those.
I have a Guthrie. I don't have a Guthrie Charvel, but I have a Guthrie Sur.
Okay.
And it's an amazing guitar.
I bet.
I've got a roasted neck on a Masterbuilt custom shop Stratocaster, a '68 Strat. That it feels it's amazing. It's just amazing. Guitars.
I got to try one of those. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Have you noticed that there's a lot of like on eBay that Fender is now selling their necks, like the real deal necks, custom shop, certificate of authenticity, relic out, all that stuff. When did that
I didn't
happen?
know, but I knew they were selling USA stuff. I just didn't know it was custom shop.
They're selling like you can buy what was the neck that I saw on there? It was a Gilmore. It was the Gilmore neck, and they were selling it for like $1,300 or $1,400. The real Gilmore neck off the guitar that's relic and everything. Mm-hmm. They're selling Telecasters that are from the relic, and they have got. I didn't know that would have been my dream back in the days to be able to buy parts that were original parts like that.
Right.
I think you think it's because like companies like Music Craft and just all these companies come out with these necks now that they're just like, we got to get into this game.
I'm thinking, I think that they came to the conclusion that they're losing a lot of money on things that they could be making money on, and they needed to probably just get their heads out of their asses because it has their name on it, and they don't want it to be on a non-Fender guitar. But what I think they realized is whether or not the guitar that neck goes on is a Fender or not, it says Fender on the headstock, and it's going to sell more Fenders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless of if the body is a Fender or not, if you see Fender on the headstock and you like the guitar, you're going to call Fender and get a Fender guitar.
Yeah. You're gonna assume it's a Fender. Yeah.
Hey Rick, have you played any of the Friedman guitars that Grover Jackson's building now?
I have not. They look very interesting though.
I know they're supposed to have that. Well, the Cali is supposed to have that old Charvel feel. I was just wondering if it was somebody that's as familiar with Charvel as you are, if you had played that and how close you found that to be to some of your vintage Charvels.
No, I haven't played one of those. Now, I've had the you're talking about the Pro Mod, those guitars that came out in '08. I did buy a couple of those back in the day, and I played them. They're okay. They're great guitars. They're close to the they're in that park of where Charvel is, but they were kind of getting there. And then I think Music Zoo kind of took it home with the Nitro series as far as what they really play like. To me, that's the feel. But I've got a buddy of mine that has a guitar shop out here in Pataskala, and he's got a CNC machine, and he cut out a Charvel neck, and he's like, "Hey, check it out, feel it." And I was like, "That feels great." I mean, it doesn't feel like my guitars, because I just feel like it's a 40-year-old piece of wood that's cured and aged and been played. It's hard to get that feel on a brand new guitar. The Mexico made Mexico Frankenstein that's out. That neck is they did a really good job on that of getting that the Charvel feel. That's
Dave and I were talking about that guitar today. We were talking about that guitar today. I've not played one.
Neither have I.
Now, those guitars. They changed things on there. It's I guess Eddie had them changed with the way the neck failed, so it doesn't play like the Stripe series. It doesn't play like the other ones. They have a good a Sam Ash over here that has one, and one of my buddies, Chad, he's just got one too, and he just loves the neck. I think that's going to be a game changer for them, for the Charvel company and EVH. I think it's going to be a game changer because Eddie just goes, well, why don't you do this to the neck? Make it play like this. Boom, CNC those things, and then you're going to see those things come out in different forms. I think you're going to see that type of neck is going to be on there. It's got that old feel. They aged it. It might be to my liking. It's a little dark, like the necks that I've seen, but I think they're on the right track as far as how they feel. Like with your Soga guitars, the neck, is that more Fendery, or is that more? Does it have more of a rolled neck?
It's got rolled edges.
It is okay.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. Yeah, for me, a guitar experience is first defined in most guitars, or they're first defined by the neck, and so it's always my first point of reference as to whether I can get on with the guitar or not. And there's been many guitars that I've had that have sounded great, but for whatever reason I couldn't get on with the neck, and they had to go. And so for me, it's always that way. And there's like we were talking about earlier, such a great time to buy gear, and there's so many great super strats that you can buy. I mean, the Surs, the Andersons, the Callies from Friedman. I just think Friedman's building some really cool guitars too. I mean, I really like their vintage T shape, and I think those are super cool. And they're designed they're all designed. I think the common denominator in all of those things is that they're designed to play like your older Charvels, your older guitars.
Yeah. They got that feel. I think that's what they did with the that new Frankenstein guitar. That neck it feels like an old neck. it's going to be a hit. I think that guitar is going to be a hit with people because it's at that low price point. It's set up right. It sounds great. It's going to be a cool thing. I'd like to see that transfer into using that type of neck and that type of technology with the CNC machines, stuff like that, and just making Strat guitars, one humbucker Strat kind of things without the stripe pattern and all that. I think that would be very cool.
Thunder Falcon said Sir was at Rudy's and Fender Custom Shop, I believe, and you're right. He was at both, and my Grail guitar is a very particular Pensa Sir guitar that I hope to one day come across. But it's very, very. I have a Grail guitar, and it was a Pensa Sir, or is a Pensa Sir.
Is it a Mark Knopfler?
It is not.
Okay.
But one day, I hope that Grail guitar will become available, and I hope it finds its way to me.
I'll find it for you.
There you go. That's your man.
Oh, I know who has it. It's just not available. So
not yet.
Not yet, but maybe one day.
Well, good. I hope you get it.
I do
So-
too.
Get it.
So as we wind down the night, does anyone in the chat have any more questions for Rick, or did anyone want to see any more? See any one of his guitars one last time? Any last questions before we say goodnight? And while we wait for that answer, want to just say that next Thursday night we have Will Van Hand solo on our show tonight. He's in the chat tonight, and he's a good friend of ours. He's got some great chops. He's an amazing young guitar player. He's got some very cool guitars. He's going to be great to talk to.
He's a big fan of music too. He knows a lot about music.
Fan of
That's
music.
awesome.
Yeah. I want to thank Rick for coming on tonight and showing off some of his guitars. I will be the first to say that a lot of Charvel owners, and may not be about Rick because obviously he's showing them, but a lot of Charvel owners like to keep their Charvel guitars, where no one ever sees them. It's like the biggest secret in the world, and I want to thank Rick immensely for showing off his guitars when he didn't have to. He gave us a lot of great info tonight.
And very generous.
Great friend of mine. I talk to Rick probably every day, if not every day, every other day, and it's just great to have you on here. Ty, as every week you come with the goods. I really appreciate you coming here and doing this with me. I wouldn't do this with anyone else. This is absolutely the best.
You're so awesome. Nice, and I'm just. One day I'm gonna find that perfect vintage Charvel that's gonna be able to live under my roof, and I just appreciate you showing your collection so much. Thank you.
Sure, man. Sure. You have to make it out this way. You guys come out and play whatever you want to. Just hang out.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, if you're looking for a kill switch, or you are looking for Keeley pedals or some other assorted pedals, check out Rob Welch at TessieSwitch.com. He is your man, and he is the coolest dude ever.
Several people in the chat asking, I'm sorry, Dave, several people in the chat. Rick, before we leave, what's the name of your band, and how can people follow you?
Shock 2 is the band, SHOCKTU, based out of Dallas, Texas, we were. And let's see, that's the band that we were signed. We did a record with Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick. Never made it out because our singer ended up joining CC DeVille's band, and the whole thing kind of went plop. Once he left Poison, he got my singer, and then that was the end of our group. So, but we're back together. We do play shows. You can check out a killer video. There's a great one from Monkey. What's the name of the Monkey bar? Dallas. God, I can't think of the name of it, but there's a great video on there for Shock 2 in Dallas. Some good songs, good rock and roll stuff. I think you guys would like that.
I saw
that.
Yeah,
and then I was also in a band called The Gods, GODZ, and they had a record deal there. They did a lot of touring through the world. They went everywhere. They had a major record deal. They toured with Angel, the old band Angel.
Great band.
Kiss, bands like that. They were on Castle. Yep, they were on Gas Monkey. They were on Casablanca,
Thank you,
and
Jay.
so I was in that band as well. So Gods, Shock 2. But yeah, that would be great. You guys check that out. That would be cool. Let me know what you guys think.
Cool.
Awesome. Hey,
And
everybody.
David, thank you so much, David. I just have to say, we just met recently over the last few. You are the sweetest, kindest person I think I've met in years.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're a wonderful person, and I say that. I tell my wife every time I get off the phone with you. I said you've made a difference in my life, and I thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means the world to me. I
that's
really
awesome.
appreciate that.
You're a
That's
sweetheart.
Guys and girls in the chat, please do me a favor if you can. Leave a comment below. Tell me yay or nay on the hat. Let me know what you think. Yay or nay. I like the hat, but
I like that.
it is a sauna under that hat right now. It is a sauna, and I have the air conditioner on. So yay or nay on the hat, please.
I say yay.
I'll answer. But thank you. I appreciate it. Everybody, thank you. We will see you. I'll see you on Sunday for Rig Rundown episode number 6. I don't know what I have left. I'm sure I got something to show you. And we will see you next Thursday with Will Van Han solo. Rick, stay with us for just a second as we say goodbye. Afterwards, we just want to say goodbye to you off the thing here. All right, everybody.
Sure.
Take
Thank you,
care.
everyone.
We will
Thanks for
see
joining
you soon.